I don't even remember when I added this to my list or why. It had a lot of positive reviews, and I'm pretty sure it was so long ago that the actual game hadn't been fully released yet. Yes, you heard that right, this isn't a full game. It's a prologue, or a demo, basically. Why am I reviewing a demo not by accident? I don't know. I had the impression that this was a visual novel kind of deal. The Steam page artwork certainly makes it look like a hand-drawn one, and even on loading up there were options in the settings for text speed if you chose to skip, which is normally a visual novel kind of thing. It's made by Paraloon LLC, a pretty small team, with only one person being responsible for each part of the production. It's made in Unreal Engine, and there's a dedication to the Blender 3D community in the credits, so I assume Blender had a part to play as well. It sort of is a visual novel, but is also a first-person exploration, since you load into a big room full of bookshelves and a tutorial for movement controls. Pressing escape tells you all of them, including strafe controls which do nothing at the start. On leaving the first room there's a desk with a book on it that's glowing. I thought that was pretty suggestive, so I decided to ignore it and explore elsewhere first to cover all areas. Turns out the book didn't matter. I found that out in a second run, and I was meant to go up top. You get a really pretty environment and realise you're living in Zathura and you're in a floating house in space. After headbutting an asteroid, you enter the first bit of story, where you meet an eel named Elil, who explains to you the situation you're in whilst you're trying to figure out which eye is his real one. He's here to guide you because he knows your memories are gone, but this isn't the first time this has happened, and there's a process that you just have to go along with, because having no memories means you aren't going to be influenced by what happened in previous times that you did this. He leaves it cryptic and swims off, leaving you to follow him. Your bonus controls kick in here. You have Q and E for vertical strafing, you have shift to swim faster, and left click to interact. You also have right click to use sonar, which locates other areas of the map and things to interact with. The artwork reminds me a lot of Abzu. It's really pretty and colourful, and the atmosphere is done really well. The music is gentle, and though it's all quite low poly, including the characters, it gets across the mood it needs to with the way it does it. Everything from the bright and interesting to the dark and gloomy, the game does it really well. The controls don't fully make it feel like you're swimming, more that you're floating, though the sound effects do match to if you were, so it's passable that you can feel like you're swimming. After finding your fishy friend again, he introduces you to why you're here. You will be the one to decide which of the gods in this ocean will be the one to create the new world, because for some reason it ended, which may explain why your house was in orbit. The gods all have their own flaws, including not knowing that they're gods, and your influence and encouragement both decides if they become the creator and how well they'll execute it if they do become it. Very not suspiciously, your eel friend is the only one drawn in sea charcoal and for some reason looking kind of evil. All the others get a fancy mural with glowy lights, but he's been sold short. It turns out he used to be a god but isn't anymore, but won't go into why if you question him about it. Presumably it has something to do with messing up entirely during a stint as creator, but I can't say that for sure. The gods consist of what I thought was one person with two personalities, like a kind of Janus God of Doors situation. A crab-looking thing, what I thought was a bear, an owl-looking dude, and an octopus of knowledge. After that, Elil gives you a teleporter, which you can use to zoom to the gods that you've found once you've met them. The teleporter page also links to notes that you've found, telling you how many there are to find in each area and how many fish you can talk to in each area. And another page is for storing illustrations. You get a green dot over a god on the teleporter when you have an important conversation to have with them. When you meet each god, you have to become friends with them, kinda, but also have to make them be friends with each other as well to make them learn good lessons so that when they become the creator they don't screw it up. The illustrations are gained from the gods learning and your interactions with them, as they develop and you learn more about them. The characters are all written pretty well, and their flaws hold them back, but they don't make them unlikable. The crab-looking thing is actually some kind of bug, one that's constantly hungry but fears the unknown and is happy with complacently being where he is because he's too afraid to take the risk to find something better. It turns out he's a dreamer who has visions of possibilities for what the world could be and great creations. It's pretty obvious when you say something that encourages one of the gods as they get a green glow or electricity around them, or you unlock an illustration. The bug is called Lutra, and he lives in a pod that also looks like space. The second god is Amar, a three-eyed, six-legged otter that just likes to have fun and live carefree. If you tell him about Lutra, he gives the bug a plant as a present to eat instead of all the ferns he's been munching, but then you have to teach Lutra about self-restraint, otherwise he'll destroy the whole thing. He doesn't appreciate that, so telling Amar to explain the concept was the better option. The third god, Z, are actually twins. Lutra calls them the two that are one, which is confusing, but they're a boy and a girl. I don't really know what they are, like sea goats or something, but they're called Esti and Ketri, and they're two kids whose parents kicked them out of their palace for other reasons unknown. They're distrustful and like to stick to the rules, so they fall out with Amar because he cheats in games he plays. It seems that all these gods are lonely though, and there's proof that they've gone into each other's realms before, since Amar and the twins have both heard Lutra talking to them without ever seeing him when they went to the cave, and of course Amar and the twins have played together before, but they don't seem to cross paths too much, and they seem to need a friendship wingman or like a bridge friend to connect them together. The demo has a limited time frame. I'm not sure what triggers it to end, but the first run I managed to meet all of the gods and talk to Elil, and when I was starting to make some progress I got interrupted by a visit from Hermaeus Mora, octopus god of knowledge, who dragged me out of the world into his realm to tell me he would help me defeat Mirak. I mean, he told me he could tell me who I am and to meet him in the abyss. Then the game told me who was currently ahead of the race to become the creator, and then prompted me to get the full version. On my second run, I didn't even have time to speak to Lutra. I met Amar and the twins and bounced back and forth talking to them to try and improve their relationships, and I focused on exploration and collecting the notes. The notes are scattered about the levels, and to get them you swim through a portal and end up back in the bookshelf room. There will be a note that glows somewhere on the shelves, and once you find it and pick it up you leave and go back to the world. There are a certain number in each god's realm of the map, and you can't find them with sonar. You have to go through and find them specifically. Some are above water, some hidden under obstacles, so if you want the full story you do have to do some searching. These notes tell the story of what happened when that specific god was last the creator, the thing that Elil said was preferable not to happen. It was with the aim of making you unbiased, but it seems that all the gods were bad at being creators, so really that wouldn't sway my decision much, since all the gods seemed to need some steering if they were going to become the creator. My solution would have been to make them all create the new world together, so they can all balance each other out, and that seems to be the thing that no one's tried yet, but I don't know if that's an option at any point. There's a good layer of mystery that you can't uncover in the demo, and it seems the game has a threshold for progress that you need to make for the demo to end. That might include the amount of memories collected, depths of conversation with the gods, a certain amount of favour being earned with one of them over the other. The first time I went in depth with Lutra and barely scratched the surface with the others. The second time I was aiming for the twins but activated Amar instead. He seemed to be so much easier to please. I'm not sure for the full game if there's any way to check who the frontrunner is, but there are many threads left unfinished to motivate you to get the full thing. It's a solid demo for the main game, it's graphically good, the dialogue is well written, it's a little hard to know if you're getting sidetracked or going in the right direction, or how much time you have to play with before something important happens, but the characters are likeable and it's a goofy world to get immersed with. Even the other fish in the world you get encouraged to talk to come out with all sorts. One sings you a rock song, one hates dolphins, and there's a breakdancing crab. Why not? Thus far I can predict that there are at least 2 other areas of the ocean where the last 2 gods will live. There will be more interactions to balance between all of them, and maybe you get to see the created world at the end? Who knows? I can't make a judge on if the rest of the game would be worth the money, but I'd recommend the demo just to get a feel for the game, and you can be the one to decide if you'd want more. I got about 45 minutes out of my first run and 30 out of my second, so there's still a decent amount of content for just the demo. I'm not going to number rate this because it's not a full game, but I'd recommend giving it a try, even if just to enjoy the environment and the characters.